I was having a fairly tiresome conversation with a rising second grader who happens to be my grandson Caleb. The subject was the 4 elements. He told me that the 4 elements were earth, air, fire, and ice. And I didn't correct him harshly. I just said, no, that's really not true. The 4 elements are earth, air, fire, and water. And that ice was a derivative of water. He patronized me about how awful it was that I had been educated in the Pleistocene period. Clearly, the 4 elements were earth, air, fire, and ice. He even hauled out the Disney movie Frozen as evidence for ice being one of the 4 primary elements. I switched the subject, suggesting that the more important question was actually about the meaning of the word element or elemental. I said, for example, you're in elementary school right now, Caleb. He says, no, I'm not. He goes to an academy. He is not in elementary school. I tried to get an audience for the 3 R's, but that was way too much to hope for. And I told them the word elemental was like the word fundamental. And it meant what was really on the ground important, like earth, air, fire, and water. And he didn't buy it, so I knew I was done. So I decided to spring my developmentally appropriate question on him. The question was, what is most important about fire? And he knew right away, having missed the course in modesty early on in his life. And he said this, he said, the most important thing about fire is knowing how to start one and how to put one out. That was good. That was important. And I think he's right. How many of you have ever rubbed 2 sticks together for long enough to create a spark? Oh boy. This is a rough crowd. I'd count 5. Okay, well, I could go get some sticks in the park and we could teach you, but basically you have to rub for a long time. And sometimes it doesn't even work. And you got to know how to pick your sticks. Too fat, it's not going to happen. Too skinny, it's not going to happen. But if you rub them right, you can do it. And I did it this summer. We had an important meeting on Friday night with about a dozen Sunday school parents. And I want to tell you the story of the meeting. Because the meeting was about this new group of kids. We have about 8 kids who are 11 years old and older at Judson right now, which we haven't had for a long time. And of course, they are appropriately driving their parents crazy. And Micah, who has them in Sonic Youth, which is a youth group, assures us that he's doing everything he can to convince them of all of Christianity, not so opposite. He's trying to open them to relationships with each other and to this congregation, which they already have. Anyway, we brought in a man who I've met through an organization called Etsy.org. His name is Simon Greer. He runs an experimental synagogue in New Paltz, and he also does rites of passage with kids, especially boys, where he takes them out in the woods for 48 hours. It's called Back to Nature, and he teaches them how to light a fire, and they get to be alone for 24 hours with people kind of around them, 11, 12, 13-year-old boys, most of whom are from the city, most of whom have no adult male in their life. And so they learn how to light their fire, and then they tend it for 24 hours by themselves. And then the group comes back together to talk about what the meaning of it was. And it's just been an astonishing thing to meet some of these kids and to know what they're like. So Simon was making me try to do this. And I said, I'm not sitting by any fire for 24 hours. And if this thing doesn't happen, within 2 hours, I quit. Well, sure enough, I got a spark and plantar fasciitis of the wrist. And we were talking and fooling around a beautiful summer evening. I got a spark, but I had forgotten what I knew as a girl, which is you've got to put some dry leaves right there. You don't just sit there and get your spark going. You have to have the leaves ready to light them so they light other things. So I was a failure, and I flunked elementary fire lighting. On this 15th anniversary of 9/11, on what is now reduced or expanded to the conglomeration of tragedies, experiences, heroism, and incredible long-lasting impact. Just incredible long-lasting impact. I think a lot of us are more worried about how we put out the fire than how we light one. Just look at some of the impacts. Have you noticed how many people say when they part from each other, be safe? We don't say, see you later, or goodbye, or bless you, or what they say in Winnie the Pooh, TT, FN, ta-ta for now. We don't thank you. We don't say light things. We say, be safe. That might be a blessing, but for me, I think it's a disguised curse. Be safe? I'd be safe if I could, but I don't know that I can. I don't know that I'm in charge of my safety. It's fascinating also to note that in this day of Eid al-Adha, most of us only know that school is out tomorrow and alternative side of the street parking rules will be suspended. We don't know quite what to say to our Muslim friends. Merry? Happy? Blessed? May you have a safe rising of the new moon. The right answer is to say blessings to you. The 9/11 fire still burns in the way we leave each other, be safe, in the fact that we have, for the first time tomorrow, a Muslim holiday from school. On August 22nd at Kennedy Airport, there was what's being called a ghost panic. Perhaps you read about it. Someone said there was a live shooter somewhere and people went berserk. Everybody was yelling, "Where is he?" TSA people were hiding in closets. People were underneath various tables and things. And it turned out there was no he. Somebody had started a terrible rumor, like yelling fire in a theater. Cops with guns appeared out of everywhere. People record the experience of having a cop saying, do you have a gun? Do you have a gun? And you could tell the cops were nervous. It was clear, as the TSA people admitted later, they didn't know what to do. One reporter, David Wallace Wells, in New York Magazine, said this after interviewing dozens of people who had been frightened. The incident proved to me that people working at the airport had very little training, if any, or plan for responding to such a predictable crisis. And he concluded, we are so accustomed to terror that we can even terrorize ourselves. And yes, by the way, our Sunday school has done anti-violence training. I never thought Never thought I'd have to do that in a Sunday school. There are also new styles, fashion styles, since 9/11. Quote, "This is the baseball cap with an inconspicuous camera that records high-definition video. The camera's right here, and you put the cap on, and you can go around recording everyone. Available exclusively from Hammacher Schlemmer. $49.95. Why would you want to wear that if you weren't afraid of something? I personally think that our addiction to our cell phones is a derivative of 9/11. I've asked a lot of people why they're so connected to their cell phones. And they always say, quote, "If something happens, I want to be sure I can call someone." And I'm thinking, I wonder what good it will do to call someone. And of course, I always say, if it'll make you feel better, go for it. On the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation, which is this October 31st, we're going to have a special service here at Judson. It will memorialize those great 500 years. And it will be a celebration of the beginning of the 501st year of the Protestant Reformation, or the first year of the next Reformation. And that Reformation is going to be about multi-faith, interfaith, religious life. Because what really happened at 9/11 is that we saw that the real cause of trouble on earth is religion. That religious discord is our biggest problem. Right now, those of us involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, what's going on? Israel and Palestine. Fighting it out on that important platform. Not to mention terrorism and ISIS and ghost panics and real panics. And I'm not going to do the litany of public violence we have endured this summer. I'm just not going to do it again. The fire that is burning of hate between religions is out of control, and we need to learn how to put it out. And we need to learn how to spark a new religion at the same time. Both and. Choose your way. Some of us have to protest and stop the wars and the violence. And others of us, I think, have to go out and pick up twigs and learn how to rub sticks together and create new communities. The most important thing that happened on Friday night with the parents, and I don't see the author of this statement here right now, but she said, her son said, her 13-year-old son said, "Why do I have to go visit old ladies down the hall? I don't like to do that, plus they drool." And she said, "Because that's who we are. That's why." And she was testing out with her peers. Was that a good response? And her peers thought that was fantastic, because that's who we are. So just as religious discord is a huge, huge problem, like the cobbler who has no shoes, the great irony that religion, which could be such a force for peace, is actually such a force for violence. Just as we try to stop the violence, with our other hand, we collect twigs, we rub things together, we create a new world. Let me tell you what we're going to do around here this fall, and then I'll quit. In about 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're going to start a program called White Love Listens. It's a hashtag. It's going to happen on Sunday afternoons. alternating with our very popular mystery school, aka Bible study. We're also going to be working with Reverend Barber and Moral Mondays on moral money and financing in New York City. We are also going to be working with NICLU and Compassionate Choices and having an event to honor David Johnson on the 30th of September on dying with dignity. We're tired of dying without dignity. So that will be part of our activism and our program. Next week, as you know, we're going to have Imbolo Mbue here to talk about her book and to talk about immigration. We are receiving quite a few very interesting requests to provide physical sanctuary here at Judson, and we'll be keeping you updated about that as time goes on. It is important to protect immigrants. We've been doing that for several years, and we're going to continue to do that. We have these wonderful new community ministers. We have a phenomenal arts program, not only in this service, thank you, Max, but also every Wednesday night all year long. So we're going to build fires, start fires, and put out fires. And I invite you to the fullest possible participation in that. Yeah, it does take 2 hours to get a spark, but give us some of your hours, and we'll have a great, great fall together. Amen.